Hello and welcome to White Glove Reviews. In this video, I'm going to conduct an experiment where I change the scales on a Swiss Army knife. And I've never done this before, but I've looked around online and it doesn't seem like it's that painful to do. And so what I wanted to do is, what I did is I went online and I went on eBay and I found an auction that had 5 Spartans and it had 5 climbers for sale. And they were pretty affordable. They worked out to be about $3.50 each with shipping. And so I figured what I would do is I would see how involved it was to replace the scales and kind of fix up and jazz up a Swiss Army knife and, you know, put new scales on it and that kind of thing. And clean it up and make it all nice again. And so what I want to do first step is to get the scales off. And I'm going to pick, looks like somebody Sharpied this one a little bit. And it doesn't look bad cleanliness wise. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the scales. And then I'm going to hopefully show you how to remove the scales. And then I'm going to clean it up and then put new scales on it. And what I did was I got some plus scales, so we'll be able to add the stick pin and the pin, the ballpoint pin, and the little micro screwdriver and some different scales, and just kind of make this knife all new and fancy again. So step 1, remove the scales. Alright, so in order to remove the scales, what it said to do was to remove the tweezers and the pliers. I'm sorry, the tweezers and the toothpick. And then what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to slide whatever tool you're going to use right there under this. Now, all the things that I saw people talking about, what they did was they used the can opener from Swiss Army Knife. And it does seem oddly appropriate to use a Swiss Army knife to fix a Swiss Army knife. But in this case, I'm using the Swiss Army knife watch tool. And this is just, it's basically, it has a little edge to it, but it's not sharp. And so I figured this might be a little bit of a safer option. And I'll include information about this in the description, as well as information about the knives I'm using, the Spartan and the Climber. And I'll also include a link to where I found the scales. I found the scales on eBay. There were a couple of people selling them, and they sold like a scales kit where it had the toothpick and the pin and the tweezers and all the replacement bits, and you could get them all in one place. Alright, so what they said to do online was you take your can opener, or in this case watch tool, and you slide it under the edge of this like so. And what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to basically, there's a rivet here, there's a rivet like here, and a rivet here, and the scales attach at those 3 points. Now the scale removal, as I understand it, is a one-way trip. Once you remove the scales, they're pretty much done because you have to break the plastic to get them off. So you insert it in here and you lift up a little bit, and you heard the pop. And then you move your knife farther down to the second rivet point, and then you twist and pop, and then the last one, and you twist and pop, and it comes off like so. And actually, now you can see a little bit of you can see a little teeny bit of plastic right there where it got it. So it wasn't perfect, but it was pretty good. So that's one for the watch tool. Alright, it doesn't look too awful down there. It doesn't look too icky. Alright, so let's just switch over to the other side, and we'll pop the scales off here. Alright, so just slide it in underneath there, if you can get it in. There we go. Slide it under. And it doesn't take a huge amount of force to do this. It's just a little bit of pressure. And you get in there, and the corkscrew's in the way a little bit, but I think I'm going to do it like this. kind of feels like I'm shucking oysters. So just twist and pop. Where's the other rivet? Am I missing the rivet? Are there only 2 rivets on this side? No, there's got to be 3. By the way, that thing that I just did you see that? Where I did this? That is probably an excellent reason why you want a watch tool instead of like something that's sharp and can cut you. Alright, so there you go. So that is the scale removed, and doesn't look too awful. It's a little, needs to be cleaned, but that's step 2. So the next step is to clean this thing up, and what I've seen people talk about is just use warm soapy water to clean it. Doesn't look too bad. Alright. So that is the end of step 1. Remove the scales. Now, I'm going to dispose of these because, never use a toothpick or tweezers from a used knife. So I'm going to dispose of these. And the scales actually didn't seem to come off too bad. I'm wondering if there's like a little fluid in there. I wonder if it's like oil or something. I don't know. If y'all have any ideas, let me know in the comments. Alright, anyway, so that is step 1, remove the scales. So through the power of video, I'm going to move to step 2. Okay, after you have descaled your Swiss Army knife, the next step is to give it a good thorough cleaning. And one of the best ways to do this is to open up all of the various and sundry blades, and let's open all these up real quick. And then what you want to do is basically just wash it in warm dishwash soapy water. And so I've opened up my knife, and I have a thing of lukewarmish water that it looks like all the bubbles are gone, but we just dunk it in, and then we how do we do this without getting our gloves wet? That is an interesting question. Well, these gloves have about met their end, I think. They've reached the point where they've gotten ink on them and stuff, so it won't hurt to get our gloves a little wet. So what you can do is you can give it a dunking in water, and then get an old toothbrush and give the various areas a good scrubbing here and there, like so. Also, what you want to do is move the blades around so they can get a little bit of, a little bit of action going on. Although it's getting my gloves wet, I'm kind of glad I got gloves on right now. Alright. Now, I'm going to finish up with the cleaning of this, and then I'm going to give it a good hand drying and make sure everything is all dried off, and then we'll move to the next step of reattaching the scales. Okay, so I've got the knife all dried off and all pristine and clean and whatever. And now, so the next step is to attach the scales to it. And for this one, I ordered some yellow scales off of eBay. And for this, what I did was I got the plus scales. And the plus scales are the ones that have the spot for the pin and they also have the spot for the stick pin right here. So I figure if I'm going to replace the scales, I might as well replace them with the good scales. And so as you can see, with this particular knife, there's only really one way they can go on. They go on like this, and like so. Like so, I think. Let's see. Let me make sure I line these up. And like so, yeah. So what you want to do is you need to press these scales down really hard so these little pieces snap onto the little rivet things. And in order to do this, I've seen people suggest using like padded vices and that kind of thing, but I found something I wanted to try. It's a pair of like pliers that have squishy protective things on the top of them, and so I'm going to try this and see how this works. So let me get this thing open real quick, and then we'll give it a shot. Oh, there's two of them. Alright, so we'll give these pliers a shot. Alright, so I'm thinking I want the extra large end to squeeze it. And then what you want to do is you want to line it up. Let's see if you can see. Can you see how it lines up with the rivets in there? I know it's kind of hard to tell. But I'm just going to squeeze it in with my hands to sort of get it started. And then I'm going to switch over to the pliers, and I'm going to squish it a little bit, and squish it a little bit, and squish it a little bit. And let's see how that looks. Alright, there's still a little bit of space. I don't know if you can see it in the camera angle. There's a little bit of space in there, but it looks like it's not scratching up the surface any. So let's squish it down a little more. Squish it in a little more. Let's see if it actually is. Huh. You know, it is kind of scuffing them up a teeny bit. I don't know if you can see that in the angle. Let me see if I can get light on it. It's really hard to tell. There's a teeny bit of scuffing in there. It's really hard to see, but it is in there. Huh. Okay, so that's something I need to be aware of. Let me try something kind of... let's see. I have some paper towels left over from my cleaning of the knife. I wonder if I just give it a little bit of a wrapping, if it'll prevent any further like scuffs. So I'm going to put the paper towel around it. I don't think it needs a lot. I think there's just a little teeny bit of like pressure from the pliers. So I'm going to squish down each of these. And let's see if I managed to not add any more scuffs. Doesn't look like I did. Alright, and it looks like that's pretty much well on there. So let's do the other side now. Now for the other side, I know I don't have any scuffs on it, so I will be able to test and make sure my strategy is working. So line them up like so with the rivets, and I'm going to squeeze it in a little bit to get it started. And then what I'm going to do is, since I learned from my previous mistake on the other side, is I'm going to wrap this a little bit right here before I squeeze it and see if that'll help. So squeeze it down. Ha. You see I squeezed it down and this end popped up. Alright, so I'm going to go down to this other end and I'm going to squish this one down like so, and squeeze the middle. So let's see. Still looks like I might have done a little bit of scuffing on the surface of it, but not too bad. And as you can see right here, This little end is still up a little bit. So we'll just wrap this up here and squish again. Make sure it's all the way in. Let's see. So it looks like y'all can see in the camera. Maybe if I can get close. So y'all can see right there. It looks like there's no gaps anywhere in there. And so all we gotta do after that is we just add all the little bits in. So we got, I can get it. We got the pin. And the tweezers. And the toothpick. Make sure nothing's popping up when we insert all that stuff. And then we got the stick pin. One thing you want to watch out for, I ordered these scales and the little kit that goes with it from eBay. When you order it, some of the kits have the little micro screwdriver with it and some of them don't. So if you want the micro screwdriver, make sure you're getting one of the kits that has a micro screwdriver. Alright, so like so. And then I guess for a little bit of decorativeness, we'll put a little Swiss Army lanyard thing on it. Like so. That's not too bad. So, I'm not sure how crazy I am about the yellow color. It's definitely distinctive. And I think I need to give some more thought to what I'm using to squish down the scales, because this is probably not the best tool for that. Because there's, I'm hoping y'all can. I'm trying to get it where you can see it with the camera. There's some teeny little scuffs in there on the scale, and they're from the pliers. So I'm guessing probably something with a little bit of softer touch. But anyway, hopefully that will at least help you a little bit in replacing the scales on your Swiss Army knife, if you're so inclined. And oh, one last thing, just in general, you want to oil it a little bit. And I've got some, like, basically it's like oil for guns and fishing rods. And just put a little bit of oil. Since you've cleaned it thoroughly, you want to make sure it stays well oiled and in good shape. So we'll just basically put a little bit of oil. A little bit of oil in the various spots that might need a little bit of oil. Put a little bit of oil in there. A little bit of oil in there. A little bit of oil in there. And a little bit of oil over here. And this way we can move them around and get everything all lubricated. And you have then hopefully breathed brand new life into your $3.60 Swiss Army knife. It is worth noting that these scales for this cost more than $3.30, $3.60, but it's kind of neat. So anyway, I'm sorry. After you oil it, it should be not perfectly as good as new, but pretty close. Might need to sharpen that kind of thing. Anyway, let me know what you think. If this is helpful, or if you have any tips or tricks for how to improve the next time I rescale a Swiss Army knife, let me know in the comments. And I'll include links to all the stuff I used in this. I'll include a link to the pliers too, but I don't think I would recommend these pliers for rescaling Swiss Army knives, because they seem to do a teeny bit of damage to the scales. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I hope y'all have an excellent day.